Alright guys, it seems like the crystal ball is working once again. Welcome to today's video. It is Sunday, it is the 20th of December. I just wanted to make another update just to share kind of what I think is happening with the price, because one of my short-term targets, or actually the target I had for this month, $24,000, just got hit in the last 24 hours by Bitcoin. So I wanted to update here and kind of share my thoughts where I think we're going at for the next, rest of the month, and then let's look at what I think is going to happen in 2021. So first of all, you can see over here on my YouTube channel, I published on the 20th of November, Bitcoin could hit 24,000 in December 2020. Here is why. And when I made this, I'll link to it in the description below or up here on the cards if you want to watch that. But basically it was trading at $18,000, and my kind of guess with it, I guess is what you call it, right? Technical analysis is always about probabilities and guesses. And this one was, well, based on the structured pattern. So we had 1, 2, 3 big months, 1, 2, 3, and I was saying basically, well, 1, 2, and we were going to have another one. This was November back then, so we were going to have that other one, that third one in December possibly, and drawing a parallel channel over these 2 points and over the peak would put it at around $24,000. And this is that exact same channel. So you can see, let's turn it to the monthly, because last month when I made that other video, it was basically just the second candle, and now we have this third candle, and it has perfectly hit this top of this channel up to this point. Okay, so you can see 1, 2, 3 big months, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Currently we still have 11 days left of December, so anything can still happen. So what do I want to share? Just want to look at what do I think is next, what are some possibilities, and also looking into 2021. So basically, just sticking with this chart while we're at it, if you're looking on the monthly here, the RSI is still nowhere near the crazy levels of the 2013 peak and the 2017 peak. Okay, so even though it is at 24,000, just keep in mind this is just a line on a chart. It doesn't mean that the price is going to stop there. It was a target I set for it, but I think ultimately the price of Bitcoin is still going to end up going a lot higher. Now in the short term, obviously I don't know. It could end up pulling back several $1,000s too. We could potentially get a retest of the 20,000, but we'll look at some shorter time frames just now. But just wanted to point out over here, so you can see the RSI is not near the peak levels of 2013, 2017, which adds to the theory that price action could end up going a lot higher. So not talking about the fundamentals, obviously that's super bullish with institutions buying and all the money printing that's been happening, and that's not going to slow down anytime soon. So fundamentally, there are a lot of reasons why Bitcoin can go a lot higher, institutional FOMO and more mainstream adoption. Okay, but we're just looking technically. So monthly, the chart has higher to go, and obviously it's very, very bullish that we ended up breaking that 20K, and we are now above it. So we are basically in uncharted territory right now. We're still trading at above, $23,000 at this point. So very, very bullish. Now, could we get a pullback to 20K at some point? I think it is a possibility. Maybe this month, but maybe next month, there could even be a wick down to 20K and then continue going higher too. So keep that in mind. Like one thing that's been happening now with Bitcoin trading at like 24,000 is I'm getting so many messages from people like, should I buy Bitcoin now? Should I buy it now? Should I buy it now? The time to buy it was when Bitcoin was under 10K or when Bitcoin was crashing to 4K, okay? Why were you not interested in it then? Right? And I get it, because that's when everyone's saying it's going to zero. That is exactly how market psychology works. When it's crashing, you have the fear that it's just going to continue crashing, so it's counterintuitive to buy. And when it's pumping, it feels like it's just going to continue going forever, and then you feel like you want to buy, whereas, you should have been buying way, way lower. Now, could it continue going to 30, 40, 50, 100K in future? I think absolutely. The risk also when you're buying after it's pumped so much is, sure, you can get it right now, and 23 maybe goes to 28K, but then what if it ends up dropping to 20K or 18K or whatever the case is, right? So you always want to just factor in, why are you buying? You want to make sure that you do your research and you understand why you're investing in something, and you have a longer term plan. You're not just buying in like most people do, once the price starts pumping, and the only reason why you're buying in is because the price is pumping, you don't know anything about it, you're just FOMOing in. That's how most people invest in anything, really, and it's the wrong way to go about it, right? So even if you were to buy now at 23K, you have to ask yourself, how are you going to feel if it drops to 20K or if it drops back to 15K, right? Are you going to feel frustrated or sad? Are you going to panic sell if it does drop? Or do you have a plan? Do you have an allocation within your risk management? And of course, I can't give you financial advice at all here, but just sharing with you the thought process here. If you have an allocation and you say you have, for example, 5 or 10% of your net worth, and you want to put that into Bitcoin, and maybe you put in a portion here at 23,000. If it drops to 20,000, you're willing to add some more. If it drops to 15,000, you're willing to add some more, right? So you have that longer term plan. But what most people do is they wait till it pumps, they see it pump and pump and pump, and towards the very end, they start saying, hey, now I want to get involved, and they buy way more than they should, risk management wise. And when it starts dropping 20, 30%, they panic sell and they lose money. Or they hold it all the way down, 80, 90%, and then they sell at the very bottom, right? So you want to be aware of this specifically, and keep that in mind, right? Even if it's going to go way higher, I think in the future it will. So there's going to be people who are going to be buying it at 50K or 100K who are even seeing it right now. And then the question you got to ask yourself is, if you're going to be buying at 50K or 100K, and it's 23K now, why would you not be buying right now, right? It's the same question like when it was 10K or 4K. Hey, if you were going to be buying at 20K, why would you not be buying at lower prices, right? So always keep that in mind. So just looking at some of the shorter time frames, and one thing that is a little bit concerning for me is that on the shorter time frames, we are getting very far away from the moving averages. So you can see the red line here is a 200 exponential moving average. The blue moving average is a 50 exponential moving average on the weekly, right? And the thing with moving averages is that price action can only extend so much from the moving average before snapping back to it. There can't be a permanent separation from it, right? So once those levels get to the extreme, there will be a correction at some point. And you can see over here, right, if we're drawing this, at this point, that was the distance from the moving average and it snapped back, right? And if we take that one and we kind of place it over here, that would put us at around 26 to 28,000 from the moving average, at which point, we could start expecting maybe there's going to be some sort of correction and a pullback. Now, it doesn't mean necessarily that it's going to pull all the way back down like in 2017. What it basically means is that the price action kind of needs to pause and wait for the moving averages to kind of catch up before it can continue going, right? Because the moving average is basically the combination and the average of the previous X time periods, right? So the 50 is the average of the last 50. Now that works with a simple moving average. Exponential places a bit more weight on recent price action compared to past price action, but still the principle is kind of the same. So I would expect, this could still go a little bit higher. Like I've said before, there's plenty of people who have 27, 28, $1,000 Bitcoin price targets, maybe even 30, 32,000. So if we do really get a pump, I think it is possible it can just continue to those levels. But at the same time, at these levels, at any point, we could expect a pullback of several $1,000s, which obviously would be very healthy, but at the same time, it could be very scary, right? Imagine this price now drops back to $20,000. Then you start thinking, oh, well, we just dropped $3,500. But don't forget, we just ran up from $10,000 to almost $24,000. So $14,000, this whole move over here without any significant pullback, right? So at any point, a correction of a few $1,000s is to be expected. Now, can it still continue from here straight up without that correction? Yes, but at some point, we will get a correction. And the longer it goes up without a correction, the sharper that correction is going to be when it does come. So just be aware of that, factor that into your investments or your trading. If you're trading obviously with leverage or even on shorter time frames, well then, those swings are going to be much more important to consider into your strategy. But if you're just buying and holding for the long term, well, those swings, and you're not watching it every minute or every hour or every day even, then it shouldn't matter too much. Just be aware of that pullback. And if you go down into the very low time frames, for example, the hourly time frame over here, what you can see also is that we're seeing a negative divergence here on the hourly, which can be an indicator that we can expect some sort of pullback. It doesn't always work that way, but usually it's a good indication that when you see this divergence, that either it needs to continue trading sideways for the divergence to disappear, or it needs a sharper correction. So, I think a pullback at this point is possible. Not guaranteed, but it is possible. And hopefully, if we do get a pullback, what would be really, really bullish is if that 20,000 level, that was the all-time high, once we broke through it, if that can now act as support and we don't go below 20K from here, we get a bounce, we get a pullback, 20K holds as a support, and from there it starts going higher, that would be incredibly, incredibly bullish moving forward. Overall, I still think the whole picture is still incredibly bullish. I mean, going back to the stock to flow model, I refer to this a lot by Plan B, $100 trillion on Twitter. And you can see this model is still perfectly on track, okay? I know people have been criticizing it and people are saying, past results are no guarantee of the future. Of course not. But so far, that pattern is repeating perfectly, all right? When it changes from blue to red, that was the halving. And you can see after every halving, there has been a boom and an increase in price to new levels. It happened in 2013, it happened over here in 2017, and we had the halving in May this year. And so far, that time after the halving has been following the previous two cycles. Now, of course, it can deviate at any point. There's no guarantee that it's going to continue, but I mean, so far it is just looking like that's happening. Combine that with the fundamental analysis of institutional FOMO and scarcity of Bitcoin, the amount of Bitcoin in exchanges dropping to all-time lows, the currency printing that's happening, that's devaluing the fiat, the debt that's increasing for all the countries around the world, that's not going to slow down anytime soon. It's basically just going to get worse and worse. So, everything is just pointing towards this continuing to be a bull market and the price of Bitcoin to go way higher. And I think if Bitcoin goes higher, like I've explained before, the Bitcoin altcoin relationship, once Bitcoin just continues pumping, at some point it's going to stop and altcoins are going to play catch up. We've already seen Ethereum trade way over $600 now. I think, in the next couple months, it's completely possible that Ethereum will be back over $1,000. And once that starts happening, a lot of the other altcoins will start moving too. So overall, I'm excited for 2021. I think it's still looking very, very bullish. I think at this point, we don't see much of the same euphoria of December 2017. I don't really notice that, so I don't think we're at the same crazy peak levels at all. I think there's still a lot more upside, as the RSI seems to indicate here on the monthly, like I've shown you, right? Basically, there is still room for further upside. So it's all still looking good. And even if we do get a couple weeks of pause and we do get a pullback to even to 20K, and we hang around there, if that 20K level holds, that would be possibly a good entry point to keep an eye on. If we do get a pullback towards that 20K, keep an eye on that on the shorter time frames, because that just might be a good entry point where 20K would end up holding and we'd end up going a lot higher over the coming months. And again, if that previous bull market cycle does play out in any way, we should still have about 6 to 12 months of bull market to go, based on the previous halving cycles having 12 to 18 months after the previous halving. It's been 6 months, so we can have another 6 to 12 months potentially, which means there would be a lot of bullish price action ahead of us. So hopefully you enjoyed this update. Please smash that like button. If you did, consider subscribing to the channel below. If you haven't done so already, it's completely free. Click that notification bell so that you do get future updates. So what do you think the price of Bitcoin is going to be? Leave a comment below. In 2021, leave your best guess. How high do you think we're going to go? What is that max number going to be? And I might actually end up revisiting that at the end of next year on the 31st of December or something like that, and do something special for the person who got the closest guess to the peak of 2021, whatever the highest price of Bitcoin is going to be. So yeah, leave a comment below, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.